US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has said the government is not looking at bailing out Silicon Valley Bank, the 16th largest in the country, after it was shut down by US regulators on Friday. Authorities said they were worried about the bank's liquidity after it lost money while selling assets. The concerns prompted the bank's depositors, that's mainly tech companies, to rush to withdraw funds, sparking fears over the wider banking sector. Speaking on Sunday morning, British Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt said the bank's failure poses a serious risk for the technology and life science sectors in the UK.
But there is a serious risk to our technology and life sciences sectors, many of whom bank with this bank that most people won't have heard of, the Silicon Valley Bank, but it happens to look after the money of some of our most promising and exciting businesses. And so I want to reassure people, I've been in discussions over the weekend until late last night.
And I'm going to discuss now with Alistair Wellman. He's a UK-based consultant specialising in financial regulation. Good to have you with us. First of all, please give us the picture. How serious is it?
I think it is serious, though it is very different to the 2008 financial crisis in that Silicon Valley Bank caters to a very specific client base. As Jeremy Hunt mentioned, it's life sciences companies and tech companies, and that makes it very, very different from the situation in 2008, where it was a much more generalized issue with bad loans across a large swathe of banks and banks much less well capitalized than they are today. And I think it's very important for people to understand that many changes have happened since then in the regulatory landscape. Banks are far better capitalized than they were when that crisis happened. And this situation is fundamentally very different. The circumstances for Silicon Valley Bank were very specific. They had a huge influx of liquidity into that bank in 2020 and 2021, and the bank invested that money in assets that didn't yield very much. And with interest rates going up, it caused them some stress. And this particular bank is not really representative of the wider banking sector that is much safer than it was. But this is clearly very serious for tech firms who are very reliant on this bank. There's no denying that.
Yeah, I mean, what exactly does it mean for the tech firms and the startups that invested money there? Will we now see companies fail? Can they just go to another bank and, if you like, being bailed out? What's going to happen?
Well, I think it is very serious for them from a cash flow perspective. So if you think about this in terms of your own banking account, if you had bills to pay on Monday and couldn't access that money because the bank has gone insolvent, that would cause you personally problems. And it's very similar with a company. These companies have large deposits, often only with Silicon Valley Bank. They haven't diversified their deposits across a range of different banks, and they're not going to be able to access money from Monday. Now, that is going to cause problems for a large range of firms to pay salaries, to pay subscriptions, to keep their businesses going. And so whilst there is some deposit protection for these companies that have invested with SVB, that is actually quite limited. And most of the deposits, I believe it's 97%, go beyond the guarantee of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. And in the UK, the limit that they are going to get back from the insurance scheme that covers these deposits is £85,000. So for commercial companies, that's actually not a large amount of money. And a solution is going to need to be found in countries like the UK to tide these companies over. And I heard Jeremy Hunt and others talking about solutions. I don't think we are looking at a bailout, but there may be some kind of financing.
Janet Yellen certainly said no to that. Yeah, Janet Yellen certainly said to that. So when it comes to bailout, they can't look to those authorities. Should there be one? We're running out of time, sadly, so just a yes or no answer. Should some official authorities step in and help those tech companies or the Silicon Valley Bank?
I think it does make sense to step in, but it would be short of a bailout of the bank.
All right, Alistair Wellman there. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.